Want to coach a deliberate practice to allow your players to learn quicker? Then stick around. Hey, I'm Dylan Joseph, soccer trainer and #1 best-selling Amazon author. To increase your team's skills, overcome average performances, and boost their self-esteem, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification icon. And stick around to learn how Brazil creates so many amazing soccer players. Deliberate practice is better than purposeful practice, which is better than habitual practice. As a coach, it is important that you do not only practice to get touches. There's certain hotspots around the world that create a ton of star talent in whatever their field is. For example, country singers from Tennessee, hockey players from Canada, and soccer players from Brazil. These training hotbeds have deliberate practice built into their systematic practicing. Regular and habitual practice involves shooting, passing, dribbling in ways that you've done many times before and are very comfortable doing. Deliberate practice requires a lot of attention with the step-by-step knowledge of how to improve in the areas that will make you a much better soccer player. Regular and habitual practice, such as I'm going to go practice juggling, isn't as good as purposeful practice, which, using juggling as an example, would be I'm going to go and I'm going to juggle until I can get 30 in, which is not as good as deep and deliberate practice. Deliberate practice is purposeful practice, but with the knowledge and information to know exactly where your weak points are and how to work on them in a way to where you're always slightly outside your comfort zone, so you're consistently and constantly growing. For example, juggling 30 times using the portion towards the toes to get better feel and comfort for the ball, to have an instinctual first touch when trying to settle it out of the air. And could this video get a like? When you first start playing soccer, everything is new, so anything that you do, you'll be learning a ton from. But training something that you're already decent at doing with no way of trying to progress or improve those little areas and opportunities that you have to improve will make it so that you have stagnant growth. Mindless activity is the enemy of deliberate practice. Just going out and practicing something over and over again is actually a really bad thing, because you become comfortable with it and you have the feeling like you're getting a lot better because you're practicing, but you're not practicing those things that are slightly outside your comfort zone. In reality, you're likely reinforcing habits, and potentially habits that are semi-unproductive, as well as not taking the time to actually practice and work on things that will make you a lot better a lot quicker. Deliberate practice allows you to break the overall process down to components and allows you to identify the weaknesses you have in certain areas. Work on different ways to improve those areas, and then bringing everything together to allow for significant improvement in a very small time. As a soccer trainer, one of the areas that I see trainees struggle with from when they're small all the way up to when they're playing high school and college ball is shooting a driven shot with correct form. For a trainee to succeed in shooting a driven shot, they actually need to start diagonally to the ball. Then, as they approach the ball, they need to plant about a foot away, and as they go to strike through the ball, they need to make sure they bend at the hip and knee, and they want to have their toe pointed down and out with their knee facing forward so they can hit it with the hardest part of their foot. Then, as they strike that ball, they need to make sure that they're following through with both the front leg and the back leg, so bringing both legs forwards and then making sure to square their hips with the portion of the net that they want the ball to go. This is a lot for a child or adult to learn if this is the first time that they're working through the steps. So instead of working on all the steps at once, I find it best to focus on each step one at a time and build with each one of those steps, so you're doing multiple in a row eventually, but starting with just one at the beginning, such as having your foot already planted next to the ball about a foot away and just working on striking the ball with the bone of your foot. After 10 to 15 repetitions of working on striking with the hardest part of their foot, then I'll have them focus on taking that step in order to be able to strike it with the hardest part of their foot. After 10 to 15 repetitions of that, I'll have them adding an additional step. So now they'll actually be taking a step, planting a foot away from the ball, striking it with the bone of their foot, and then following through with their right leg or their dominant foot, the one that's shooting the ball. The process is like building blocks. So you keep on adding one step. Once you become comfortable with that step, you still do that step, and then you do the next step. And then once you become comfortable with both of those, then you add in a third, and you keep on building, and you keep on working on that uncomfortable part until you get it down pretty good, and then you move on to that next step. You may be wondering how Brazil has so many good soccer players. Well, they have a game that a lot of the children play there that's called football de salo. This is 5v5 soccer, often played on a basketball court. And in these games, soccer players often get 6 times more touches than the same player who'd play in an 11v11 soccer game. The professor professor of soccer at the University of Sao Paulo, says that this game is the laboratory for improvisation. Many more touches plus less time to react makes it so that soccer players learn recognition of patterns as well as how to react in those difficult time-constrained situations. When developing soccer skills, you want lots of repetitions and quick feedback. An easy and quick way to implement this strategy into your coaching methodology is to make sure that you aren't doing too many practices where you're scrimmaging 11v11 or 8v8. You generally want like 2v2s and 3v3s so many games can be going on at once and a lot of people are getting a lot of touches on the ball. Because think about it, in 11v11, there's people scattered all over the field, and for a decent amount of the game, the defense, especially the goalie, is barely doing anything. Whereas in a 2v2, 3v3, they're always engaged, playing offense, defense, constantly developing a lot more than those people playing in those bigger sided matches. To avoid missing out on the important coaching points that your soccer team needs, grab soccer coaching using the link in the description below. So subscribe to avoid missing the next weekly video on the Powerhouse Club IX training method. And click here for the video on why a rondo is a must for your soccer team and how to coach it.